Halo Bu Ugi, Wilujeng Enjing Bu Ugi. Wah,
Selamat pagi.
itu Prof Hans, coba disapa Bu Ugi.
Halo, apa
Prof
kabar?
Han, how are you?
Good, good.
Yeah.
Saya super.
Yeah.
I am super in the background.
Oh, yeah. You can hear. You can see that. Yeah, it's Cemani. It's from Indonesia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halo,
Yeah. Can you speak Indonesia, Prof?
sedikit-sedikit.
Sedikit. Ya, saya baru tahu bahwa ayam ini yang paling mahal di dunia, betul?
Paling mahal, betul.
Oh, oke. Karena
Tapi
ya,
boleh makan ayam ini? Can you eat it?
I never seen. Ya, katanya semuanya hitam. Darahnya juga hitam. Sudah pernah coba, Prof, makan ini? Belum juga.
Terlalu mahal. Too
Terlalu
expensive.
mahal, ya betul. Dan itu seperti semacam ritual di beberapa daerah di Jawa untuk upacara ya. Lebih ke cultural mungkin.
Bu Ugi di sini sudah ada Pak Hidayat juga sepertinya. Barangkali
Ya.
Pak Hidayat bisa dicek. Halo Pak Hidayat.
Pak Hidayat, selamat pagi.
Ada dua Faisal.
Iya, itu host itu Prof. Yang bantu host nanti di belakang layar.
Halo, Mar.
Good, good. Nice to see you all. Good morning.
Good morning, Professor
Yeah.
Han Jianlin.
Yes. Good. Nice to see you. Yeah.
Profesor Han dari Sydney.
Yes.
In Sydney, yeah. And you, Prof Jian Lin from, you are in, now where are you?
No, I'm in the Museum of Zoology in Lipi.
Oh, okay. So
Museum
in your office, right?
Museum Zaman Hindia Belanda.
Oh, ya. Museum apa aja itu isinya, Prof? Ada chicken juga di sana?
Di sini?
Iya?
Ada.
Banyak. From
Baru.
Australia?
Australord.
Oh,
Australord.
oh ya. Saya lihat your presentation is banyak gambar-gambar bagus. Sangat menarik.
Terima kasih.
Yeah. Just like an art, ya. Art. It's already joined with us, Dr. Hidayat Asari. Mas Hidayat, sudah bisa dengar?
Selamat pagi, Bu. Iya, Bu, dengar, Bu.
Pagi, selamat bergabung.
Pagi, Bu.
Silakan menemani Bapak-bapak ini, Profesor Hans dan Han Jianlin. Ini ya, pembimbing ya dulu?
Iya. Beliau lagi ada di sini kok, Bu.
Oh, oke.
Jadi lagi ada di Museum Zoologi yang ada di Bogor, di Cibinong.
Oke.
Di kantor.
Iya. Dekat ya?
Iya.
Mas Hidayat
Karena belum
di kantor nih?
Di kantor juga, Bu. Di kantor
di bidang
juga.
zoologi ya?
Iya, Bu.
Oke. Iya. Nanti materi presentasinya mau dipresentasikan sendiri langsung atau dibantu?
Sendiri aja, Bu. Sendiri aja.
Oke. Ya.
Ya.
Ya. Silakan menyapa bapak-bapaknya.
Hello, hello, Prof. Han. Prof, because both of them is Professor Han now.
Oh,
quite difficult to say because both of you is Han.
both of us are Jago.
Yeah, Jago. Okay, good morning all. Wait, I need something to do.
From the ICBC. A649.
Good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, selamat pagi, Bapak Ibu semua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam sehat bagi kita semua. I am Sugiarti, a Government Public Relation of Indonesian Institute of Sciences, Lembaga Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia. It is great to be here with all of you at Munasain webinar series. And then, today, we are going to speak more about Indonesian chicken, history of Indonesian chicken, livestock and genetics, and chicken as a part of our traditional culture in many places in Indonesia. Welcome for 3 speakers who has already here with us. First one, Professor Hans Pauls, University of Sydney. Good morning, Prof. Hans. Apa
Good
kabar?
morning. Selamat pagi.
It's good to see you here and join with us early. Thank you very much. And then Professor Han Jian Lee from International
Yes.
Stock Research Institute. Good morning, Professor.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to see
You
you all
are,
around here.
yeah, you are in Cibinong now,
Yes.
right? Oh, welcome.
Good. Yes.
Indonesia.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last, Dr. Hidayat Asari,
Yes,
researcher.
yeah.
Yeah, researcher from LIPI. He is working on genetic of chicken at Research Center for Biology, LIPI. Selamat pagi, Mas Hidayat.
Selamat
Sehat ya?
pagi, Bu. Sehat, alhamdulillah.
So, Bapak and Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, before we started the presentation session and discussion, I think it will be great if we can hear an opening remarks from Dr. Atit Kanti. Dr. Atit Kanti ini sahabat saya. Bu Atit, apa kabar?
Baik,
Can
baik.
you hear me okay?
Yes.
She is head of Research Center for Biology LIPI. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. Atit Kanti. Please, Bu Atit.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ibu Ugi. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, please allow me to give speech on behalf of the Indonesian Institute of Sciences. I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all honorable speakers who are pleased to be here for these international webinars. Professor Han Jianlin is from International Livestock Research Institute, and also he is a doctoral research supervisor of Pak Hidayat Asari. Welcome, Professor Han. You are quite long to be stuck in Indonesia, but I'm really happy that you are here.
Yes,
and then
good.
I also
Thank you.
welcome to Professor Han Pauls from University of Sydney. Professor Hans, welcome. It's nice to meet you here in webinars. And also Pak Hidayat Asari, who is one of our great scientists who is working on genetic of chicken. Selamat pagi, Pak Hidayat.
Pagi, Bu. Pagi, Bu.
This webinar is hosted by Natural History Museum of Indonesia. We call it Munasains. Munasain is a part of Research Center for Biology and one of the museums under LIPI, which is displaying the Indonesian natural history that cover the theme of geology, ecosystems, domestications, trades, land chance, traditional knowledge, biodiversity, and others. This is one of the national museum in Indonesia. Not many museums have a very large coverage for displaying, and I'm really proud to be one of the part of museum Munasains. Munasain was originally known as Indonesian Ethnobotanic Museums, then developed into Munasains. The Indonesian Ethnobotanic Museum was founded in 1984 with focus on how the traditional ways of knowing botany. The change into Munasain happened 5 years ago, and with more broadly focused compared with ethnobotany museums. Funding for establishment of Munasain was coming from various kind of sectors, like from private company and also for governmental company. And then we are really happy that the Ministry of Cultures in Indonesia support us to develop and try to make a better condition of Munasain. And also from the company, private company, also willing to help us to develop the Munasain. The improvement of the building and content of Munasain will carry out until fifth floors. And currently, we are still working on the finishing the subject on the second floors, and still a very long way to finish all the content of the museums. And the line with the role of Munasains, today, we present international webinar. We call it the Ethnobiology Perspective of Indonesian Chicken. If we talk about chicken, from history to genetic, as we know that Indonesia chicken is not only well known as a livestock, but also is a part of traditional cultures in many localities in Indonesia. Moreover, it is widely used for hobbies also. Chicken has close relation with Indonesian history, in which one of the name of the king of Javanese Hindu empires, Majapahit, were also using hayam. Hayam in Indonesia, it means chicken. As the Indonesian word for chicken for his name, hayam wuruk. That is the symbol of purity and courage. On this occasion, it is important to inform all of you that many people believe that Indonesian chicken have historically arrived in Madagascar for long before Christ. It is presumed that there was a migration for Indonesian to Madagascar and might stop in the Myanmar, Thailand, and somewhere else. In fact, that finding of chicken refused that belief. This finding informed that chicken come to Madagascar by Indonesian direct voyagers. The study of Indonesian chicken revealed that its domestication has been started many years ago. It resulted that ayam kedu, we call it kedu chicks, now called as chicken chamani, or we call it black chickens. It is the ancestor of black chicken in the world. Other kinds of the domesticated chicken are pelung chicken and bekisar chickens. Pelung chicken is a hybrid for various kinds of chicken. Meanwhile, bekisar chicken was resulted from hybrid between a jungle chicken and native chicken. This is the very long story of chicken in Indonesia, actually. It is a bit about the Indonesian chicken and will be completely delivered by the very good speaker today. And then we can hear what is the chicken around the world. I'm really happy to be here also. And finally, I would like to congratulate to the speaker who shares your experience, research, and knowledge to us. And thank to the webinar team for the effort and make this webinar possible. Again, please enjoy the webinars. And I formally open these webinars. Thank you very much for all of you. And then thank you to join this webinar. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Atishanti. It has always been great to have you here with us. Terima kasih sekali lagi Bu Atit. Semoga
Yo,
terus
sama-sama.
sukses, tetap sehat ya.
Makasih, silakan.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again for you who just joining from webinar from YouTube channel also. Now the participants already more than 200. Welcome to the webinar and also LIPI YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, let's moving on. I think we are going to start our presentation session and discussion today. Before that, I'm going to introduce our chair or moderator for today, which is Dr. Wawan Sujarwo, or Mas Wawan, I called him. Mas Wawan, can you hear me? Mas Wawan?
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mas Wawan is an ethnobotanist at Research Center for Biology, Indonesian Institute of Sciences, or LIPI. His primary area of research in the relationship between plants and people, especially in traditional Balinese community, right? And he has widely documented Balinese ethnobotanical knowledge in many international journals. And he received a PhD in ethnobotanical science from University in Rome, Italy. So, ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome Dr. Wawan Sujarwo. It's yours. You have 2 hours. We can hear your voice. You still cannot hear?
Bu Atit, Bu Uki bisa dengar suara saya?
Oke. Ya.
Oke.
Discontinue.
Terima kasih Bu Uki. Selamat pagi and very good morning to everyone. Distinguished guest Dr. Atit Kanti, Director of Research Center for Biology. Thank you for joining with us this morning, and Professor Han Pauls from University of Sydney, Australia, Dr. Hidayat Asari from Research Center for Biology, and Professor Hans Jan Lin from International Livestock Research Institute, Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and the committee member, welcome to this international webinar with the topic of ethnobiological perspective of Indonesian chicken, from history to genetics. My name is Wawan from Research Center for Biology, and I'm the moderator of this webinar. As already mentioned by Dr. Kanti, chicken is one of the animals that help human civilization. And almost civilization, chicken has become a symbol which has a special meaning for the people. And every civilization, chicken not only produce a lot of meat, eggs, but also build a strong bonding with human. So do not be surprised if chicken is still consumed today on one side and respected on the other side. For the Indonesian people, chicken is very close to the people of Indonesia. Chicken is used not only for consumption, but also for ritual and other traditional purposes. So that we can raise some questions. How is the domestication process going? When was the chicken domesticated? And what is the relationship between the people of Indonesia and chicken? Also, why is chicken so close to the Indonesian culture? And of course, various other questions related to chicken are still our curiosity. To answer these questions, LIPI hold this webinar, which is open for public to increase the understanding of ethnobiological perspective of Indonesian chicken from history to genetics. And the rundown of this webinar will be about 20 minutes presentation for each speakers, starting from Professor Hans Pauls and Dr. Hidayat Asari, and the last is Professor Han Jianlin. And after that, about 30 minutes is Q&A session. And lastly, 5 minutes closing by the moderators. For the audiences, please mute your microphone during the presentation. You can write your question through Q&A feature in Zoom or live comment on YouTube. Please mention your name, your affiliation, if any, your questions, and to which speakers. The committee will select the question and convey them to the moderator. The moderator raised the question to the speaker during Q&A session. Now, let's begin our webinar by welcoming our first speaker, Professor Hans Pauls. He is interested in the history, sociology, and anthropology of medicine. He currently focuses on the history of colonial and post-colonial medicine in Southeast Asia. Professor Pauls, the time is yours for about 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. Everybody can hear me all right?
Yes.
Very good. All right. The chicken in Indonesian history and culture. Now, in 20 minutes, I cannot cover everything. No surprise, but I have collected some kind of set of ideas, images to highlight the place of chicken in Indonesian society and culture, and also give a little bit of an overview of what is coming, where the true chicken genetic experts will discuss more appropriately. First of all, let's introduce the chicken. This chicken is very common in Europe and in Australia. It's a very hardy chicken. The problem with chickens in general is that however we humans mistreat them, they handle it. So we put them with thousands in small cages, no sunshine, and the chickens survive. So many other chickens so many other animals in this world cannot handle those kind of conditions. First of all, chickens are the most numerous bird in this world. There are 24 billion chickens in this world. Now imagine, if the chickens decide they have enough of us and they band together, we will stand no chance. They will defeat us, no question. Chickens fuel civilization and development. We can see this in so many societies. Once people start to keep chickens, they're a source of very cheap meat, protein, eggs, and then often economic development sets in. Very good to know is that the chicken, together with the turkey, the kalkoen, is the closest living relative of the dinosaur. And you can see here some images of the immediate ancestor of the chicken and the turkey, a feathered dinosaur. Actually, all dinosaurs had feathers, but since we humans, when we find fossils, we only get the bones. For a long time, we were not aware of that. So again, this shows that if we get on the wrong side of chickens, the inner dinosaur will come out. So better be careful with that. Chickens adapt, chickens are flexible, chickens have a very highly organized society called the pecking order. And that is why it is so easy to keep them, because they maintain the whole social system. They are also very communicative. Chickens are very smart as well. The oranges of the chicken. Now, I will not discuss this extensively because I'm not an expert, but recent research says that the red jungle fowl, that is common in Southeast Asia, also common all over Indonesia, is the closest living wild ancestor. There are two characteristics of the red jungle fowl. One, it is very, very shy. It is very hard to see one in the wild. Now, our common chicken is not incredibly shy, so something must have happened in between. Secondly, the red jungle fowl is very fierce. And sometimes that characteristic has been part of our chickens. The jungle fowls, and we have a green one, a gray one, all over Southeast Asia, that can interbreed with chickens. So the two lineages never clearly separated. And I guess sometimes in Indonesian chickens, that relationship is more obvious than it is in that big brown chicken that I showed you. The recent research, and this is published this year, shows that the chicken was domesticated for the first time in the area indicated with red on this map. Somewhere in southern China, northern Thailand. How and for what reason, of course, the genetic research doesn't show. But then from that moment on, the chicken crossed the world. The chicken went everywhere. And in the standard accounts, it probably was the Middle Eastern traders who brought it first to the Middle East and to Europe. But the big question that is still unresolved, and I think is unusually fascinating, is did the chicken make it to South America? Because it's very Eurocentric to think, all right, the chicken was domesticated in Southeast Asia and then traveled to Europe. Yeah, that's not untrue, but it traveled in many other directions as well. It went to the Polynesian islands, and maybe the Polynesians went to South America. The evidence can be found in chicken DNA, also in jams or sweet potatoes that were brought from either from Polynesia to South America or the other way around. 12,000 to 6,000 years ago, the chicken was domesticated. But the big question is, why? And that, of course, we cannot really answer from genetic research. But there are several options. And then we have to talk about culture. We have to talk about archaeology and possible archaeological findings, maybe in literature, maybe in all other kinds of arenas. This is where we have to move beyond genetics. And this is in general, but specifically for the chicken, the reason why historians, anthropologists, geneticists, we all have to work together to solve lots of problems, but in particular, the chicken problem. Why was the chicken domesticated? Was it for the eggs? In that case, we would see a lot of hens and not so many roosters. Was it for the meat? Chicken meat is very nutritious, very good for you. It's light. Well, both hens and roosters can be eaten. Or is it for cockfights? chicken fights. And the recent theories emphasize that it was indeed for cockfights that humans first had an interest in chickens. And you can see here, look at the claws of both of these chickens. They are formidable. And these might be chickens that have a lot of red jungle fowl in them, and they can fight. Some people have argued that the Romans were interested in chickens because they could tell the future. If you have a major battle, you would disembowel a chicken and then read the intestines, also for cockfights. But interestingly, only around that time did some Roman person think, gosh, we can eat them too. And then, of course, the fate of the chicken changed dramatically. Now, if it's for the eggs or the meat or for fighting, gender balance in chicken communities has always been severely asymmetrical. I think probably about 5% of all chickens are roosters, 95% are hens. This makes dating for the average hen very difficult. Everybody probably knows Clifford Geertz, the pioneering American anthropologist who spent quite some time in Bali in the early 1950s. His very most influential and famous piece of research is called Deep Play Notes on the Balinese Cockfight. And of course, at that time, it was already widely known that not just the Balinese, but people in Indonesia all over were really interested in these things. This became Geertz's most influential work. So when anthropologists know about Indonesia, they know about ayam right away. And also it is the most influential chapter in his interpretation of cultures, his most influential work. So clearly, this is a chicken-inspired anthropology. Now, to summarize the theory very briefly, Balinese men, and surely men all over Indonesia, love their cocks. They cherish them, they feed them, they wash them. And somehow in the cockfight, they project their own self in their roosters. The roosters represent them. If their rooster wins, then they are the strongest man, the strongest jago in the village. So the ties and the connections, the personal identification and the emotional attachment of these men with their roosters is really very strong. Here we move on to cocks, sabung, jago. The jago, of course, the preman, the gangster, a very important figure in the history of Indonesia, and I'll leave it to you and the discussion to decide how this is today. But it indeed talks again about how a very strong rooster symbolizes a strong man. And it looks like that the jago has made it into computer games. Around cockfights, there's lots of betting, and there's also a commentary on one's village and one's community. I guess if there's prohibited knowledge and prohibited language, it expresses itself in talk about the chicken. So one should always listen carefully to what the chicken has to say. The American anthropologist Robert Lemelson recently, a couple of years ago, released this documentary called Tajen about cockfights in Bali again. And again, he comes to very similar conclusions. This movie is freely available on the web, and I can recommend it to all of you. Let's move on to the Indonesian Revolution. And one of the most influential historians writing about Indonesia is, of course, Benedict Anderson. In his book, Java in the Time of Revolution, he says, it's not so much the Indonesian army, which was still being formed at the time, but jagos and their gangs, thugs, gang leaders, strongmen, gangsters, premen, who played a central role in the revolution. They were believed to have a mystical power. They had all these rituals, spiritual rituals to make sure they were invisible, invincible, etc. So to make a long story short, the chicken, the rooster, was central in Indonesia's independence. And I don't think the chicken is mentioned in the Indonesia Raya, but maybe there should be another verse added to it to talk about the chicken. Of course, all of you have seen the Garuda before. Now, it is, of course, a very scary thing and part of Southeast Asian culture, Indonesian culture, but isn't a Garuda just a dressed up chicken made to look very impressive and a little bit scary? I'll leave that for you. Maybe I say something deeply offensive, but I will hear about that in the discussion. Dark side of chicken. The Chamani has already been mentioned. It's a marvelous bird. It's the most expensive chicken worldwide. And it is quite an appearance. Jamu. Now, if we want to study Indonesian culture, one could go the road of Jamu. It's not particularly clear if it's in any way effective, although I know that in Bogor they're doing research about this. It's probably not harmful, but it is everywhere and everybody likes it. This is the latest I found at the airport, essence of chicken. And I see two people riding their bikes. So clearly, essence of chicken makes you sporty and strong. Everybody knows jamu, chap, jago. And again, it is not too difficult to guess what kind of thing this jamu does. It makes you into a jago. That means it makes you very strong, but also there is a direct link to perceptions of virility, of sexual prowess. And this is not just Indonesia, this is worldwide, but if you offer any type of medication or herbal medicine that supports virility, you will sell it. And this was already known by the manufacturers of jamu back then and still today. Of course, the chicken has a central role in religion and in spirituality. Now, here is Mahidol University in Bangkok, where there is a chicken shrine. I specifically made a trip to Bangkok to go there to see all these chicken, and you see hundreds and hundreds of chickens. You also see zebras. I was really puzzled about that because zebras belong in Africa, not in Asia. I do not know if that means that they bring good luck. It probably does. But the chickens bring good luck because on the one hand, chickens can be strong, as roosters and jago, but also they are fertile in the sense that they can lay a lot of eggs, create quite a bit of offspring as well. And probably that productivity is a sign that you wish for university graduates that they get good paying jobs, that they turn into good ayam that lays a lot of eggs for their family. And here you see all these close-up images. I think they're just beautiful. But of course, you see chickens everywhere in Thailand and all over Southeast Asia. But Indonesia is the very first country that has created a house of worship just for the chicken, the Gereja Ayam, which is next to the Borobudur near Magelang. Now, of course, all the tourists go to the Borobudur because it's a beautiful temple, it's very old, it's an ancient civilization. Yeah, the Borobudur is interesting, it's nice, but the Gereja Ayam is a unique structure. Now, there are rumors that it's actually a dove, but clearly that is a rumor that ought to be disregarded, and that is not important. The Gereja Ayam is for people from all religions and all faiths to worship. And I would say to worship the mother chicken, the first chicken who, when she laid the first egg, the chicken goddess was our universe. The chicken as a form of religion brings us all together. Now, I will end with an anecdote about chickens in Indonesian culture today. Well, they are, of course, everywhere. But interestingly is that in Indonesian culture, people think that chickens are sensuous. Hence the ayam kampung, the ayam kantor, and the ayam kampus. And of course, spicy chicken are also a little bit violent, but these are definitely the roosters and not the chickens. One of the beautiful things, of course, traveling over Indonesia is that the ayam kampung is everywhere and is able to take care of him or herself by finding food scraps everywhere. Now, in the West, we think that chickens are shy, playing chicken, chickening out like a chicken. If you want to poke fun at a politician, you dress up in a chicken suit. and this is often done when politicians don't want to debate or don't want to appear in public, people dress up in chicken suits and say, you are a chicken. So clearly chickens are considered shy in the West. Now, the funny thing, Australian chickens are not really shy. When I visited this chicken farm here, all the chickens came very close up. And one could look at those eyes, right? This chicken is very sensuous. So clearly the difference between Australia and Indonesia is that this chicken is very sensuous and very curious, because for that chicken, a human means there will be food. Food will be given very soon. In Indonesia, chickens are shy because if a human appears, the chicken knows, I will be food, I will be eaten very soon. And of course, knowing that makes anyone very shy. So to conclude, chickens, first of all, are charming and fascinating. They're beautiful, they're very smart. Chickens and humans have been companions for a very long time. There's lots of research talking about cats and about dogs, how they have been domesticated. I think cats were domesticated in ancient Egypt, and they, of course, were revered as gods there. Dogs have been domesticated several times in several different locations, and they provide very useful services in chasing animals away. But in that research, the domestication of the chicken has been mostly overlooked. Think about it. Today, dogs and cats are mostly useless. They give us emotional support. That's nice. And of course, they're beautiful and sometimes they're very nice to us. But chickens have been with us humans much longer and are far more functional and important because they provide company, they are a source of humor, but also they provide us essential foods. Chickens come from Southeast Asia. Chickens are everywhere in Indonesia as well, no surprise. And maybe someone in the discussion can tell me these mangkok with ayam on it. Why is there an ayam on it? I don't know. Or the strika ayam. Unfortunately, they are no longer in use, but there's so many antique versions of it. There's also a chicken on it. So when I think about Indonesia, cultural symbols, one comes on chickens all the time. And I'm very sorry that I just found out when the seminar started that Hayam Wuruk was a big chicken, a chicken king. Fascinating and interesting. I will leave my mostly anecdotal story to this. And I guess the true scientist who can tell us all about chicken genetics will fill us in about domestication, the newest evidence, and I'm very much looking forward to their suggestions. Now, if you have other anecdotes of the place of chickens in Indonesian culture and history, please share them in a discussion or email me, because I'm currently making a bit of a catalog, a collection of anecdotes about the place of chickens in Indonesian culture. Just mentioned a few things, there are many more. Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak. And I'm glad to be part of this symposium. And thank you very much for the people who organized it and invited me. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you very much, Professor Paul, for the presentation. I'm really interested with your presentation because for the first time in my life, I saw your gereja chicken in Magelang. Many times in Borobudur, but I never seen the gereja. And also different kind of chicken, that is ayam K. Sorry, I'm joking. Ayam K. And now it's your time, Dr. Hidayat Asari, for your presentation. He is a last year PhD student in the Faculty of Animal Science, China's Academy of Agricultural Science, under the supervision of Professor Han Jianli. The time is yours for about 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. I try to make it short because it's kind of a little bit too much what I'm trying to talk. Today I want to Have you seen all my screen now? Okay. I want to talk about this molecular genetic characterization of Indonesian chicken and jungle fowl. So basically, I try to I want to know the Indonesian chicken, the native Indonesian chickens came from where, which jungle fowl. Basically, I want to answer that one. So, as we know that jungle fowl in Indonesia, basically we have two species of jungle fowl. We have a red jungle fowl, Gallus gallus, and we have also green jungle fowl, Gallus varius. From the red jungle fowl, we have 5 subspecies from East Thailand, South China to Indonesia, like a Gallus gallus, and then Gallus gallus spadicius, Gallus gallus bankiva, that mostly in Java, and then Gallus gallus murgi in around Bangladesh, and Gallus gallus jobulai in South China. For example, like this, in this area, so basically Gallus gallus spadicius, we can see that much more in Thailand, Malaysia, Peninsula, and then Sumatra. We can still see the Gallus gallus spadicius, the red jungle fowl. And then we also can find this Gallus 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 that basically is not just in around the south of Sumatra, but we can see still see this one is also in around Java, in yes, a part of Java also we can still see that one. And then there is also one that we can distinguish, that this one is called Gallus gallus bankiva. That's much darker in the color in the neck. That we can see all around the Java, that we call it the Java red jungle fowl. Then the other one, we also have green jungle fowl, Gallus gallus varius, that basically from South Sumatra to Jawa, Bali, Lombok, and then all the Lesser Sunda, we can still see. I still hear some crawling in the Timor, Alor also for this green jungle fowl. And I use also the Indonesian indigenous chicken. We call it Indonesian indigenous chicken. That I'm sampling from Aceh, in the North Aceh, until Ternate, basically until Ternate, until Halmahera. All the ayam pelung, ayam gao, ayam cemani, ayam kapas, and white kedu, black kedu, and etc. So and then my study basically using this molecular marker core microsatellite marker that are conserved across related species, independent of age, sex, and environmental change, even can be detected at the early stage of development. And this one, the microsatellite markers also establish genetic linkage map. We can see also an analysis of the mating system inside. We can also make the population structure inside of the population itself. And we can also do the reconstruction of phylogenetic relationship among population. So this is basically the scientific question. Indonesian indigenous chicken, like Professor Hans Poel before said, that came from where? He already mentioned that probably it came from the red jungle fowl. Is it from the red jungle fowl? Is it, if came from jungle fowl, is it from the red jungle fowl or the green jungle fowl? Because in around here we also still see the green jungle fowl around, and how the interaction also with the broiler layer also. So I did samples for in total 1,498 individual from 71 population all around Indonesia. So it's for indigenous and commercial broiler layers from north to northwest to the east. Red jungle fowl also, and green jungle fowl mostly from Jawa to the Lesser Sunda. And yeah, blood sampling is just like using radial vein puncture and doing the DNA extraction using phenylchloroform. And then for the DNA amplification, I do with 20 microsatellite DNA marker, that recommendation by FAO at the time. And for the data analysis, mostly I use several kind of data analysis using a gene mapper, microsatellite toolkit, FSTAT for the inbreeding coefficient and within population, and then many other like GenePop, Philip, Review, Structure Harvester, Destruct, and Bottleneck program. Also using a server to building a synthetic map to make it us see clearly what happened inside of the chicken, basically. So in the result, from the mean number of allele, indigenous chicken have a higher allele than others. So indigenous chicken, because they have large effective ancestral population size, and then also race in a free range. Then that's why they also have the continuous gene flow. Then jungle fowl and commercial layer have a fewer alleles. They have they indicated that a very limited effective population size. And then for like example for commercial layer, because of pressure of human selection also. Then I try to make it in the map like this using a Kriging grading method for make it a simple, clear to see the main number of allele according to the place. So the blue color basically is a low number of allele, have a low genetic diversity. Then the red color basically has a high number of allele and high diversity of local chicken. So the high diversity, for example, like this one in the north Sumatra, in around Aceh, I think it's because of the historical migration commerce, and because this is along the Malacca Strait also, that's become a center of trade. If we know that in the at that time in the ancient kingdom, they have a connection between the Aceh and up here the Vietnamese and others, that they are close related between the king also. So they have a good trade in between this area, between the North Sumatra, Aceh in particularly, in the Malacca Strait with Thailand, with the Malay Peninsula, also up there with the we call it Champa at the time. If I'm not mistaken, all the historian can tell me about that one. Then in the South Sumatra here, a little bit high diversity because it's also near the Batavia, but in Batavia itself, it's not too high because it's if the samples is around here is rare together in the one big area like that. Then in the basically the North Sulawesi here, this one is because of this trading from the Makassar Strait go up with the Philippines. This is the international lane also in around here. There's become a trade that really good at that time. And then also with the spice trading with the Portuguese around 1525, trade with cities around the strait also. Influence with the Philippines, of course, in up here also. And then the Lesser Sundas. The Lesser Sundas is still become for me become a question also why it's just a little bit high in diversity in around here also. Then for the heterozygosity, the expected and the observed. Jungle fowl Indonesian indigenous chicken is more diverse than other chicken population. You can see in the map. For this observed heterozygosity, the pattern is more similar like the MNA before, like this one. But in the slight different with the MNA for the expected for the observed, but the expected is slight similar with the MNA. Yeah, it's cause I think it's still because of this Malacca Strait and Makassar Strait influence in around there. Then the inbreeding, jungle fowl has higher inbreeding rate than the other, indicating that the jungle fowl and indigenous chicken at risk of inbreeding. So in particular in here, for the red color is the risk of due to inbreeding, especially in the middle Java and the Nunukan. In the Nunukan mostly because the geographical barrier, I think in this area, but in the middle Java, it still also become a little bit question why it's in the central Java, because it's easy to travel between those area, but it's so the really high risk of inbreeding around here. Then for the next is the bottleneck. It's not undergone a bottleneck even in the recent past of 15, 20 generation. I think it's still not undergone the bottleneck for this one. This normal L shape in here. And then I will leave this one, and then I will use this one for phylogenetic relationship analysis. So basically, one is in the red circle here. Most of the indigenous chicken, all the native chicken, it's in around here, together with all the red jungle fowl here. And then the green jungle fowl is all in here. Then here also all the commercial broiler layer all is in here. So it's a clear separated that all the indigenous chickens came from the red jungle fowl together in around here. And we see also I do the population structure of all samples. The most probable clustering was found in the K3 in here, which identified 3 distinct gene pool. Gene pool 1 is green jungle fowl in here, in most of Sundaland and Lesser Sunda. It's remain relatively isolated than the other. It's still pure compared to the other. Then gene pool 2 and 3 has a high level of genetic admixture. So we can see in here, this is all the indigenous chicken. It's admixture between the red is come from the red jungle fowl here, and then of the blue it came from all the broiler and a commercial layer from here. So clear that there is a 3 gene pool in here. If we go down again in the K2, this is a commercial layer. It's clearly also has influence into the indigenous chicken. This one is that all came from Sumatra Island. This one is came from the Jawa, from the Kalimantan, and from the Sulawesi and Maluku. It's clearly that they have influence from also from the broiler and layer also in here. And if we go down a little bit to see a structure in the K3, let's see, take this one out. So this part is called the Merawang chicken from the Bangka Islands. So Merawang chicken clearly has a influence from the commercial. And if we do see the history also, that the Merawang chicken basically came from Chinese descent 300 years ago, similar to what is Darwati 2002 mentioned, that has influenced by Rhode Island red chicken. This one from the Bangka Islands. Then STG and STC, and around here, STG is a Sentol, basically Sentol from Jatiwangi, and Sentol from Ciamis. That it's also clear also that it has a commercial also inside. But STC that came from Ciamis, it's much more pure genetic background compared to STG. Because STC, we take at that time, the samples came from the household, then STGs came from the breeding farm, of course. It has also influenced a lot of in there also. Then the other is like this called Wareng chicken. Wareng is came from Tangerang. It's not far away from Jakarta. It's clearly also has an influence from K3, and then if we do go down with the history, it's brought to Indonesia around 1980 from Russia. It's mentioned in the Sartika 2008 that she said that shares the same genetic background with white leghorn chicken for this Wareng. Kedu clearly has influence also by gene poultry from the commercial, and we can see it's also, if I'm not mistaken, from what I read, it's similar to the Black Java breed, America 1835, to develop the Black Orpington and Australo breed. But I still need to dig going deep with this one. Because I have also others colleague that working on Kedu chicken and Chamani that we're going deep with that one. I'm still need to going deep also with this one. It's not too clear for in my previous research. And then Nunukan chicken from Nunukan Island in and Tarakan in Kalimantan, Borneo. According to Sartika et al., also in 2006, some level of genetic integration of Rhode Island red chicken into this Nunukan chicken. Then what else? Manado, this one has come from Manado, Mana. It's also as clearly influenced also from the broiler. So basically, that one is what my study before, that indigenous chicken, Indonesia indigenous chicken basically have a influence both from the red jungle fowl and the commercial broiler layer inside. For further, from where this Indonesian chicken domesticated from? Is it from this North Sumatra and others? Professor Anjandin will talk about that one more deeply with that one, because the recent study shows a little bit clear with that one. So for the conclusion, there is a rich and unique genetic diversity in indigenous chicken, but on the other hand, the genetic diversity in overall jungle fowl is relatively low. The results reveal 3 distinct gene pool. One is gene pool 1, consists of green jungle fowl, the rather pure genetic background compared to the other, and gene pool 2, so minimum admixture from red jungle fowl, but obvious genetic integration from commercial chicken into indigenous chicken also, and gene pool 3 include all commercial broiler population. Although no recent bottleneck even is detected, there are significant inbreeding signal present in most of the indigenous chicken population and the fragmented jungle fowl metapopulation, surviving under increasing human pressure in different islands. Red jungle fowl population in East Java cluster separately. This one is I'm not mentioned before. And green jungle fowl saw different pattern in genetic area in East Java also. I'm not mentioned this one also. So basically that one, the conclusion. So the take home note is reveal that Indonesian indigenous chicken have a rich and unique genetic diversity, but with genetic admixture influence from red jungle fowl and commercial broiler layers. That basically the big conclusion of my work. So thank you. I hope I'm not really long talking here. Come back to Dr. Wawan Sudarwo.
Sisi, Dr. Asari, very nice presentation. And now we are going to the third speaker, Professor Han Jianlin. Ni hao, Professor Jianlin. Professor Jianlin is interested in animal and plant cytogenetics, animal biochemical genetics, animal molecular genetics and breeding, or animal genetic diversity and conservation. The time is yours for about 20 minutes.
Still mute, Professor.
Your speaker, also your speaker.
Still mute, Professor. Please turn on.
Okay, right. Is it okay now?
All right.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, okay.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, thank you very much for the organizer. I think, you know, from the previous two speakers, we have already learned the importance, the uniqueness of Indonesia chicken. So here I'm trying to focus a little bit, you know, what really says the Indonesian chicken compared to the, you know, chickens outside the country. I think because of time, I will not go into this. Let me move on. Oh, can I go next? Okay, I'm working for the International Livestock Research Institute. Basically, I'm taking care of a program, what we call improve the characterization of domestic animal genetic resources. We are aiming to characterize, quantify the map all level diversity of livestock so that we can identify the sort of the let's say based on our research, we can inform how we can conserve, how we can the indigenous livestock breed, including chickens. I think if we look at the really say what's the importance of chicken, I think today, given the human society at large, I think the vast majority of people think of chicken as food. If you look at the density of distribution of chicken, obviously where the human population is densified, where the chickens also has a high density. If you look at Indonesia in particular, where really I think chickens is the #1 important livestock species in the country, where anywhere we go, we have the ayam around from different type of chickens, I think, including the commercial, but we have a lot of ayam kampung chicken around. So basically chicken is really important to the country. We have been in the institute, we start working on the chicken for the last 20 years. Chicken today, I think we hear already, this is #1 animal on the planet. So therefore, because the importance of the species among the livestock, so the species, the chicken genome was first sequenced among the animals after the human genome being sequenced in 2001. We got to the first animal species with its genome in 2004. So chickens, yes, we hear that chicken important for food, for culture, but chicken is also very important as a sort of animal model to study, say, the biology question, and even to serve as a model for medical research. So there are really, say, definite, I would not go into the detail. We hear from Professor Hans and Paul's already. People, we are enjoying chicken from all the aspects of this animal. So if you see this slide here, if you imagine a chicken you want to see, probably in the world, on the global, you can find a real chicken as what you can imagine. So the chicken has really a lot of phenotypic diversity. You see the different type of chicken from small to big, from all the different color, the plumage pattern, the body structure. Really, so this is a species full of variation at all level. So that's where I think we see really said it's really important in terms of biology research on the evolution at large. So I'm focused on, we are basically working on the genetics, looking at the DNA level variation in the chicken. So basically here, I just show you, say yes, if you think about the DNA level variation, we are talking about two, say the source of the DNA. One is the mitochondrial DNA, which is located in the mitochondria in the cytoplasm. Then the vast majority, 99% more DNA materials are stored in the nucleus. So that's what we are working with, the two type of the DNA in the nucleus in a cell of animal. So if we think about the origin domestication of chicken, we are trying to understand a few questions here. I think the origin of chickens, if the chicken were domesticated once or several times in different places, and even said the chicken may have been domesticated in different places at different time. What is happening today? Because the chicken may have domesticated several thousand years back, follow the, all the human movement and the human trading in the last few thousand years, in particular concentrating in the last 200 years, let's say humans, we have been crossed the global so much in the last 200 years, even the last 30, 50 years. So what is happening today with all the chickens on the planet? They still manage to keep their original genetic background or not? So that's one of the questions. I think definitely the last we will understand is why chicken managing to conquer all the corner of the planet. So what is really, where is the, how, when they went out of the center for domestication, and where is the hotspot of genetic diversity of all the indigenous chickens? Because this is really has a lot of association to one side is the conservation of biodiversity of chickens. On the other hand, where all the breeding policy, the breeding, say the approach can be developed based on different background of the chickens, where you, if you are working with a local chicken, being heavily inbreeded with less diversity. If you want to do breeding, you have to increase the variation by crossbreeding, by introduce exotic genetic variation first. While if you have a chicken breed with high level genetic diversity, you could start to do a within breed selection because you have enough genetic variation to play with. So this is the sort of the question we are trying. I think earlier we learned there are 4 species of jungle ferns from red, gray, green, and the Ceylon jungle fern. They are distributed in different parts of the South and Southeast Asia, where yes, the Ceylon jungle fern is only found in Sri Lanka, where this really is a tiny island, where the gray jungle fern is found in southern part of India, while the green jungle form is found from Java for the east. If you come back to the most likely the sole ancestor of all the domestic chickens, the red jungle form. This is the species really has a very wide geographic distribution from west Himalaya in Pakistan down to somewhere in east part of Indonesia. So there, because they have a very large geographic distribution, we can imagine the environment condition, the weather, all the, they have different influence of the evolution of the single species or region. For so far, we people from the zoologic side have already observed a lot of morphological difference. That's why the red jumper has been divided into the 5 subspecies distributed in different geographic area. I will not repeat. So within our project, we are working at an international level across Africa, Asia, Europe, and also to minor extent into South America. So we over the last 20 years, we are able to collect probably something like 40,000 chicken samples from all over the world. So because this is 40,000, some are too much. We do not have all the money to do all the genetic analysis. So we started some selection of genetic markers and also selection of the total samples we have. So the first part of the analysis I will introduce to you here the mitochondrial data located in the cytoplasm in the mitochondria. There are multiple copies in one cell, but this genetic material is inherited follow a maternal line. So we got all our mitochondrial DNA from mother line, not from the our father line. So chicken mitochondria is around 16,000 base pair line. It's a very small circular molecular in the mitochondria. So in the within this 16 base pair line, there are a few functional genes coded by this DNA, but there's one single piece of DNA fragment, what we call the D loop. Here you can see this is only a piece of DNA around, say, 1200 base pair long. So this is a piece of DNA that have no function, which means this has no coding capacity. So it's basically just a piece of DNA inherited within the mitochondria. There's no coding capacity, therefore there's no constraint for the evolution where if there's a mutation, the mutation can be inherited, can be transmitted over generation, because this mutation will most likely follow a neutral model. A neutral mutation means that no selection goes from natural selection or human selection. We are able to observe all the DNA mutation in this fragment. We concentrate 100 base pair of the D loop where the 80%. We did around ourselves 6,000 samples for sequencing plus other public data available. We are analyzing around 10,000 chicken mitochondrial DNA sequences. This is basically the phylogeny tree showing you the relationship of the different sequences of mitochondrial DNA in chicken. I think you don't need to worry about the details. You only need to say, okay, to keep in mind what we are into different groups of sequences. We label them in different color. I think this is, I will show you further. This is the different from the tree. In the tree itself, each branch, we only have one single sequence. You don't know the the importance of the sequence within the population. But within the network here, each pi here is also a different sequence from that phylogenetic tree. But here we incorporate the number of the samples which carry these sequences. In a sense, the network can show you which sequences are more important compared to others. You can definitely think about the larger of a pi here is higher number of samples share the same these sequences. Basically, among all the 10,000 chickens we analyzed, we can see probably looking at the maternal inheritance, chicken may have been domesticated from, let's say, around 10 ancestral hens only. If you look at, say, there's a C, there's a D, there's a E here, there's a F, there's also the blue color A, and the light green B. So if we take the example here, if you look at the down corner here, the B is new mutated sequences. This is sequence that differ by one mutation from B itself. So it shows you a star-like pattern. This means, okay, this we could simply assume this the bee was the ancestral hen domesticated a few thousand years back. After the domestication of this particular hen, then the progeny over generation over 1,000 years of time, they were able to accumulate more mutation. There will be more derived sequences from this ancestral haplotype. That therefore it come up as star pattern. We can explain this by sort of a population expansion after domestication. So that's where we see, okay, most likely for chicken, if you look at the mitochondria itself, we may have domesticated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe let's say 6 to 10 hens we initially domesticated a few thousand years back. Then if we map back our samples linked to the different group of mitochondria, you can see here, there is what's so-called the phylogeographic pattern, which means samples from different geography, they will show different genetic background. For example, Indonesian chickens. All the Indonesian chickens, we have sequenced something like 500 Indonesian chicken across major island. You can see here around 75 of the local chicken in Indonesia, they carry this blue background mitochondria DNA. So this is quite different if you see outside Indonesia, if you move to Indian subcontinent where the yellow color dominate. In Pakistan, where probably 90% of local chicken carry this yellow type mitochondria. Why if we move to Southeast Asia, we can see this what we refer, there is a strong phylogeographic pattern of all the indigenous chicken in Asia. We pretend to make some sort of first conclusion based on all our mitochondrial analysis. We could claim that most likely chickens may have 3 separate domestication signature, with the yellow type of mitochondria originated from Indian subcontinent. Of mitochondria may have originated from Indonesia. Here, then we have another the green background in East or Southeast Asia, while we do taking only 5% of the 10,000 chickens. They're really as a two minor sort of footprint of mitochondria of chicken. So this is at first, if we taking only the mitochondrial result, people may come out to the conclusion, say, yes, the chicken may have been domesticated separately in different part of South and Southeast Asia. But we know mitochondria is just a single molecular marker in the cytoplasm. It's really, the information is really very limited to draw a general conclusion. That's where I think the second part of my presentation I will explain to you our a very new publication come out just last month, published in the Cell Research. We have sequenced the complete genome of 863 chickens at jungle farms. So within the, I think I would, just emphasize here in our main paper, in the published paper, we have 9-page paper. It's quite a relatively long public article already, but along with 90 pages of supplementary materials to explain to you all the details how we are able to come up with the major findings summarized into the 9 pages of the article. If, say, someone, in particular for the young junior research or for student, I would always think today, when you start to read the article, you better go back to look at also the supplementary materials to give you more details, what's the logic of the project, of the analysis. So I think this is the distribution of the 4 species and the 5 subspecies of red jungle fawn. Our study here is really unique. This is the first time we were able to collect all the wild species of jungle fawns from the native range. While the early study in the past 20, 30 years, even this our chicken reference genome, that chicken was a red jungle fawn, not a pure chicken. So, but that bird was originated from Malay Peninsula, but was taken in 1960 into US. So therefore, there were, I think most of the early studies, they didn't have samples of jungle fawn from the native range. So that's where—
Professor Janlin,
yeah, I will move quick. Yes. We did also with the whole genome sequence data, we were able to recover also the mitochondrial DNA sequence first with this 8 to compare our, say, this 800 sequence compared with our earlier 10,000 samples. We see, yes, our 800 samples are good representative to cover all the chicken, say, the original diversity. That's the first thing we want to make sure. That the second, we move into our analysis to looking at if all the jungle fawns and also the 5 subspecies of red jungle fawns, are they separated at genomic level in terms of evolution? So this is really important. Unless we are able to identify the genetic uniqueness of all the wild species, where we can start to look at the question, which species contribute to chicken. So yes, from this analysis, you can see all the 4 jungle fawns, they're separated, while also the 5 subspecies of red jungle fawns, they're murky, they are also separated clearly. So that's where we can build further phylogeny to look and compare the relationship of all the chickens with all the jungle fawn samples. Based on the phylogeny, we can see, yes, one of the subspecies we call the Gallus spandishers it is the most close related to all the domesticated chickens. So that's where we move on. For next level, we look at when this red jaguar species separate from chicken ancestor. We look at this, okay, the Gallus Spanish diverged from chickens around 9,500 years ago, while all other subspecies or species of jungle fowl, they have diverged from chicken earlier than 50,000 years back, which means they have no contribution to domestication, while Gallus Spanish could be the ancestor of our domesticated chicken. Next we look at, say, okay, if that's the species being domesticated, what's the relationship, what's the potential contribution of other subspecies of red jungle? We do see, yes, there have been some genetic integration of different red jungle subspecies to chickens distributed around that particular subspecies. This is where we can see, I think I'll take the example of, let's say, Indonesian, where we do see the Indonesian chicken has been influenced by Gallus, which is distributed in southern part of Sumatra for sure, while definitely the Gallus banquiva, the Javanese red jaguar, made also some contribution to the local chicken in Indonesia. So from this domestication, most likely the center of domestication around the Gallus Spanish. After this domestication, we can see these chickens move out of the global. They were able to pick up some additional ones around. I mentioned, for example, the Gallus banquiva contribute up to around, say, 6% of the genetic background of the Indonesia chickens. So therefore, this is the really, say, if we come up to the major finding of our study, say, yes, chicken derived from these Gallus Spanish subspecies found today in Southwest China, Northern Thailand, and Myanmar. Chicken has been transferred from this area. They pick up other red jungle subspecies or even the jungle from species to enrich the genetic background. Well, I think one of the specific point I would emphasize the white leghorn chicken. This is really the most popular commercial breed of layer chicken. Has early Hidayat mentioned there's really a lot of influence of the commercial chicken into the local breed, but this wild leghorn chicken basically is really a crossbreed of two red jungle from subspecies. I think we have to keep in mind. So because there is a continuous sort of genetic integration of the local jungle into the indigenous chicken in different parts of Southeast Asia, we see there are a lot of phenotypic variation, morphologic variation, and also the reproductive capacity of indigenous chickens. So therefore, I think we have to pay more attention of all these unique genetic resources of our indigenous chicken around our country, so that we can be able to develop a much more robust chicken, follow the ongoing, say, the climate change, where we will suffer more the high temperature. I think we hear from Professor Hans Pors, chicken really is a powerful species. They have very strong adaptation because of the continuous, the integration over the history. Even today, we can still see chickens are picking up additional genetics from the wild relative. After our publication, our study will emphasize, highlighted in the Journal of Science. we can see within less than a month's time, our paper really attract a lot of attention with up to 8,000 download already. I think by ending of my presentation, I would see, although we see the culture, the religion, the importance of Indonesia. This time I've been locking down in Indonesia for half a year. I'm able to explore a little bit more how the Indonesian people is doing with the chickens. We know, say yes, this is a very beautiful Pakistan chicken. We know by history they were used as a sort of attraction because for the beauty. But this time I realized, yes, Indonesian people, you have started to explore a new function of this Pakistan bird by doing the hearing the crowing. So you start a new contest of the crowing from the Pakistan. This is really something unique. People really say this. We talk with this the breeder of Pakistan bird for the crowing. They start this competition only in the last 10, 20 years. So this is something people recognize, a new value of say old bird Pakistan. We are basically trying to collect more samples of the unique Indonesia chicken, move on to more whole genome sequence. And by ending my presentation, we have to really educate our young generation so that some of them can be really a fancy breeder of our old fellow here. You look at him, he's really enjoys this young Pelon chicken. He has a lot of knowledge. He's really very much appreciated with this unique chicken. I think this is the only way for human society to continue to maintain this, the rich chicken genetic diversity we have been created over 1,000 years of time. Thank you very much.
Okay, CC, Professor Jian Lin, and very nice presentation. And I thought that the question that I raised at the beginning have already been answered by all the speakers. And now for about 25 to 30 minutes, I will read the question from the audiences. So many questions from Q&A feature on Zoom. And I'll divide 3 questions first to Professor Hans Pauls, and then followed by another 3 questions to Dr. Asari. I noticed that so many questions to Dr. Asari, but probably Professor Jianlin could elaborate at the end of the discussion. So for the first 3 questions to Professor Hans Pauls, I thought that 15 questions already answered by Professor Hans Pauls and Q&A feature in Zoom, but okay. So many questions.
So many questions. Happy to answer.
And you already answered.
Yeah, I try to answer by time.
For me, it's confusing to select the question. Right. The first question from Febriani Sarwenda from University of 11 Maret Surakarta. She was asking, why is Cemani chicken is very important to Javanese culture? Is there any special historical story about it? And the second question from Cahyadi Permana is from State Islamic University Sunan Gunung Jati, Bandung. This question goes to Professor Pauls. How is the history of chicken from the world to Indonesia in changing culture and belief in the archipelago? And third questions from okay, from Fadilah Hasnah Azizah Winda from State University of Yogyakarta to Professor Hans Pauls. Is the genetic diversity of chicken increasing or decreasing? What side is very unique from a chicken passed down from generation to generation and is still maintained today? Professor Pauls, time is yours.
All right, now the genetic diversity of chickens in Indonesia, it's probably relatively stable or increasing, especially with the ayam kampung, because they walk around freely, they can hang out with the red jungle fowl, the green jungle fowl. So that keeps their diversity, genetic diversity intact. For chickens in the industrialized world, the broiler chicken, the genetic diversity is decreasing because they all tend to come from specific places. People buy fertilized eggs from producers. So their genetic diversity is decreasing. Now, survival of chicken as a species is, of course, benefits from great genetic diversity. This makes a chicken adaptable. For the factory farming of chickens, the factory farming people are not interested in that diversity. Chickens die quickly. They can be slaughtered already in 8 weeks. So who particularly cares if they're diverse or not, if they manage disease or not? So this is a way that the chicken is impoverished, the genetic heritage, the life of the chicken. And if we learn anything, it is that we should stand up for chicken rights. There should be liberty, merdeka untuk ayam, so that they can walk around freely, pick their mates freely. Second question is about ayam cemani. I don't know, but probably one of the other speakers know about the origin of the ayam cemani and its specific religious, spiritual, cultural meaning. The third question, the story of chickens from the world to the world. Well, Indonesia had so many different types of jungle fowl already. So when the chicken came to the archipelago, it interbred with all these chickens. So it made a very specific Indonesian kind of chicken. Now, the ayam kampung is not a broiler chicken because in the West they have bred them so they become very big and very fat. So there's lots of meat. Some chickens are even too heavy. They cannot even walk on their own feet. This is just terrible. With the ayam kampung, this is not happening because the big advantage of the ayam kampung is you don't need to feed them. They feed themselves. They are walk around, they are mobile, and this makes them in a very adaptable. So I think that is good for the chicken. Now, I don't think Indonesian chickens are exported over the world, but maybe it would be a good idea. Except the ayam cemani, very expensive chicken. That one is exported, but you need to be a real big chicken lover to buy chickens like that. And you can't even eat them, I think.
Okay, thank you, Professor Pauls. And another third question to Dr. Asari. So many questions to you.
Good.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the audience are very interested in this international webinars. Right.
Not clear. Sorry.
Yes, the first question to Dr. Asari from Dodi
Hello.
Odo.
Cannot hear clearly.
You, sorry. Bisa mendengar Mas Hidayat? Oke. I think, oke. Mas Hidayat bisa dengar? Halo? Oke. Bisa dengar suara saya?
Oke, dengar sekarang dengar.
Oke,
Tadi nggak dengar tadi. Oke, oke.
Soalnya tadi di mute kayak.
Iya.
Okay.
Okay.
The first question from Dodi Priyosambodo. He was asking why the appearance of Brahman chicken, Bangkok chicken, silky, and jungle fowls were so different. Do you think they share same ancestor? And the second question from Michael Sutanto. I want to ask why there is people who don't like chicken. I mean, living near chicken farm or eating chicken meat. And the third question,
I don't know.
so many questions, right? Right, from
It's a mystery.
Fadila, I don't know because she doesn't mention her affiliation. People in Gorontalo call it keneo as one of local chicken in Indonesia. I would like to ask whether Professor Pauls or Dr. Hidayat have any information about this chicken. Dr. Hidayat, time is yours.
Okay, for the first question about Brahman, Silky, and others, yes, they share same ancestor, I think. But Professor Anjanli, they can answer more deeply because he's going deeply with the genetic of this different part of chicken. He can answer after this. The second question, why? I also don't know why about this second question. Why they didn't like chicken? Because in my opinion, I'm not anthropologist or whatever, but chicken for me, they didn't have any social taboo in my word, social taboo with the other religion. I mean, he can be eaten by a Muslim or by Christian or whatever. So why he didn't eat chicken? I don't know why also. It tastes good, but why they didn't eat it? Then the third one, the keneo from Gorontalo. It's a kind of new information that I still didn't hear about this chicken breed in Gorontalo either. But Sulawesi is kind of interesting. So, for example, with the jungle fall itself, it's looked like galus or red jungle fall, the previous jungle fall from Jawa, but has a bigger body size, has a different color pattern if comparing to Jawa, but if comparing to Sumatra, for example, if we both of us, me and Professor Anjanlin, already see the specimen around, and it's similar also between the Sulawesi and Sumatra, but the body size, it's much bigger compared to the other, and the color also totally different, not totally different, but different with the Jawa. But this is why that even the jungle fall from Sulawesi itself, it's a unique also. We still wanna do something with this one. That's why before we are having a lockdown before, we did go to Sulawesi. We went to Sulawesi, and we did try to find some samples of this one, because yes, in all the reference they said hybrid of this jungle fall from Sulawesi, but hybrid with what? There's still question. Is it yes hybrid or not? We still have a lot of questions also inside of the Sulawesi jungle fall. Then the breed that came from Sulawesi also a little bit unique also. We can see like this keneo from Gorontalo. I didn't see either until now. And then ayam gaga that have a long laughing chicken. So yes, it's unique. It's a new information that I think we can do something after with this species in further. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hasari. Very good explanation, right? Good answer. And I thought that why people do not like a chicken farm, probably the smell, I think, right?
Yeah, probably, probably. The taste, usually the taste, because of the taste. So
Alright.
so they prefer to eat the what we call kampung chicken because of the taste of the meat, comparing to what we call the broiler or commercial layer, that the taste of the meat is totally different. That's why they choose that one. But what happened nowadays is that people eat the kampung chicken. Usually they buy in the market. It's already too old. It's already 1 year more. So that's why the meat is hard already. That's why nowadays, if we try to find this chicken, is around 70 days. Around around 70 days. That mostly is still good, but with the kampung chicken.
All right. Okay. For Professor Han Jianlin,
maybe Professor Han Jianlin can answer with Silky and Brahman and others.
please, you can elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, since I think we learn from Professor Heinsberg, from Hidayat, basically, you know, I have been traveled quite a lot from Africa into Asia by working on chicken. Indeed, you know, when I always remember the first time when I come to Indonesia, I didn't recognize the chickens along the road. I thought it was a unique bird because they look totally different from chickens I saw in the north in other countries. I thought, yeah, this is the long-legged bird along the road, and until we stopped in a village. I went out the car and see that there are chickens. My God, these are really total different in body structure, you know. Then slowly, definitely, we come into the knowledge of ceremony. You know, this is the silky. As what I present earlier, because you know, the history of chicken has been really amazing. They say, okay, we hear a lot of the publications since Darwin mentioned the Indus Valley domestication, later the Chinese domestication. But there was nothing in Indonesia. I think Indonesia is a sort of the really said the island country. Seemed to me there have been no good sort of the keeping of the history in Indonesia in the past. Probably even for silk, when I talk with people around working on chicken, they were thinking the silk chicken were introduced from Hong Kong around 100 years ago. That's, yes, most likely that's possible. But if we come back to the other unique chicken like Semani, based on my observation, I would thinking this total dark black bone chicken. Indonesia has its original home. They may have been brought out from Indonesia up into China, into India subcontinent. That's where I think people start to develop more black bone chicken. But Semani is really the darkest black chicken in the world. So I always believe this should be the origin of the black chicken. So we basically this time I think we along with the study of Hidayat doing the whole genome sequence, we are trying to really look into the the history of the major unique Indonesia chickens. Because earlier with his study working on microsite, there was no function of that marker. Nor with the whole genome sequence data, we will be able to tackle the issue of really say the phenotypic difference, the uniqueness of the morphology or the plumage pattern of the ayam kampung chicken in Indonesia. That's one of our major sort of the objective of this ongoing research. While with this, the Braham chicken, this is really the largest body of a chicken up to 7-9 kilo. So we know that this chicken, the largest body chicken were originally from east part of China. If you go back to Europe with the hobby breed of chickens, they're recorded in the around 1840 when European came to Asia first. On the way back, they brought a lot of East Asian chicken along with the. One of them is what they call, sometimes they call trans Shanghai or the Shanghai yellow chicken. That time, say 180 years ago, this chicken was already 4.5 kilo in body weight. So with that background of chicken, they brought back into Europe. Later on, this chicken were continuously migrate, along with people into Australia, where this Braham chicken were developed, also in US, because all the chickens, the modern chicken US was also original from Europe. So there were a lot of the what I would call the genetic mix up of chickens from different part of Asia, from Indian subcontinent, move into even into Southeast Asia. But surprisingly, I think probably Semani chicken is the major ayam kampung chicken from Indonesia, which has some influence into European chicken, because we know that in Europe, people also develop this black bone chicken. So I think this is today we see when we went out in the last few months for sampling in Java, in Sulawesi, into the village, people here in Indonesia, they are introduce a lot of chickens, including the Brahman, and also the cocoa fighting, the ayam Bangkok.
Yes.
Yes, and also they introduced this small baton chicken. They claim it's from Malaysia. So I see, really say Indonesia. Really, it's somewhere in the country. I never see my life so far say that the human society, they enjoy chicken from all the aspects. So you start with this the fancy chicken for say the what we call for as a pet. Then you have this for cockfighting, definitely you have ceremony for sacrifice. You have the ayam kaitawa, ayam kabun, they crow in different way. No, I mentioned earlier also that say you explore the new function of the Bakisa chicken for crow and game. So people really in Indonesia, they are the people really enjoy chicken from all the perspective. I would really love to stay in Indonesia longer to explore into different islands to see really if we are missing anything, a chicken could be in Indonesia. That's really, I think, something very unique. I think the last I would mention here back to the jungle from business. We have, say, follow the literature. People who claim, say, Indonesia may have galos, may have galos expenditures, and down to Bankiwa. But unfortunately, if you look at in the country, if you look at the conservation of species, all the jungle funds, they are not protected by the law here in Indonesia. I think based on our analysis, the Bankiwa is unique sample species so far, but based on our genomic data, you can see Bankiwa is very different from other red jungle. I myself am planning to push this up to a species level, back to something like 100 years ago, which was recognized as different species of jungle fauna. So this can really attract more attention on the protection of the Bankiwa bird itself, because it's only distributed in the East Java. The number, we don't know the number today. I'm imagine the number must be very low already. Then also the issue with the green jungle fauna, they are in different islands from Java to Flores. But on our first part of genetic analysis, we see the green jungle fauna in different islands, they are different genetically already. So we should use the genetic information to help to build different sort of the conservation program for green jungle fauna. This is something I think I would mention in this large audience today. I think we should do more intensive survey of the Bankiwa and also the green jungle fauna, so that we make sure we will not lose these unique species in the near future, because there are also a lot of crossbreeding going on in the village or in the nature. So we need to do something today, because we can link the habitat survey with the genomic data. At the end, we can come up with a really accurate sort of policy for conservation of the species. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Jan Lin. And I received 3 questions for you.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah. The first question from Endang Widyastuti.
Right.
Do you think the number of mitochondria of the cock with very loud voice is much greater than others? And the second question from Tamara Unique. She's from Trubus Agricultural Magazine. What is the ecological function of wild chicken before humankind breed them for food or hobby? And how is the ecological function has changed in the recent time? And the third question from uh, Professor Daisy Wawar from Research Center for Biology. She was asking, after studying so many types of chicken, could you suggest which one is the super chicken? The most
Okay.
promoting original chicken worth to be domesticated in the future. Time is yours.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the first question linking back to the mitochondria, I think I mentioned say yes, for mitochondria, it really is a small molecular, really a tiny sort of a genetic marker, bearing a few mutation compared with the whole genomic data today. We are talking millions of DNA mutation in the whole genomic data. Mitochondria used to be believed said there is a higher mutation rate. So therefore, it's good to tracking down the inheritance pattern, the origin of species, but this is markers that are limited. They are not good to study within species genetic differentiation. We see from our whole genomic data, I think this is really the marker of choice to looking at if we work on livestock of different species, we are basically dealing with genetic differentiation within breed, within species. We develop different breed in the recent time. So I think the mitochondrial DNA mutation is rather limited because the breed may have developed only a few 100 years. So therefore, we do not expect to have a new mitochondrial mutation. While follow the genetic drift model, we can see there will be a lot of allele frequency shift across different breeds. That's where our local breed or our improved breed, they were able to display different morphology or the productive trait, the performance. So this is really, I think we should now pay more attention on the whole genomic sequencing data, because the cost of sequence is really reduced. We are able to do more samples, to working across all the breed, I think, today. So this is the first. The second is the ecologic function of the wild jungle ferns. I think, yeah, because why is they called the jungle fawn? They're basically the bird in the jungles. So I would imagine that this is the species that play an important role in the sort of the ecosystem, in the food chain, in the evolution of the jungle system. Yes, we today, because we managed to domesticate some of them into chickens, but there are still plenty of the jungle fawn in the jungle. I think there's still provide, say, food to other mammal species, the mongoose or the say the small jackals or the mammal species. I think this is the probably yes, this is the role they're playing. We do not know exactly say what's really say the ecologic importance of jungle fauna in the wild. I think the yes, we can definitely claim this is a part of the ecosystem because the number of the bird is really quite high in the Southeast Asian rainforestry. So this is, I think, the important we have to consider. Then, what's this third question? I'm lost already. He did.
Your mic, Wawan, your mic.
Okay. All right. Now I got it here. So the
Sorry.
what's the sort of the super chicken?
Yeah, super chicken. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, because we all our three we agree that chicken really a very powerful species in terms of adaptation. You can see chicken in every corner of the world because they are able to adapt to very different climate, to different even the management system. That's the most species they are not today being produced as a machine for meat or for egg in the industrial farm. So they really say we are manipulate this bird. If today, sometimes I made a joke say, should we go to eat chicken meat or instead we should eat the feet of chicken straight? Because if you think about the nutrition value of for chicken, even the hygiene standard of chicken feed, they are really very high standard. And if you think about the feed conversion rate, today we feed 1.5 or 1.6 kilo feed. You can get 1 kilo chicken meat. So say yes, basically we are using chicken as a machine to produce meat. So sometimes I say, yeah, why do we eat chicken meat instead of the chicken feed? Because I'm sure they are good taste. Otherwise chicken will not like. So by doing this genetic analysis, we see there are a lot of genetic diversity in the indigenous chicken or the ayam kampung. They offer more opportunity for us to improve our commercial chicken. We learned earlier the commercial chicken say they cannot walk in the village. The broiler, you release them in the village, I'm sure they will die. Yeah, the layer chicken, they can survive because they have the good leg, they can walk. But that's where we can think and say, yes, today, while we are struggling, say we want to have reduce the negative impact of livestock production, particularly from the industrialized farm, people may want to go back to the semi-intensified production system. Each family, we keep 100 chicken. We are able to have self-supply, self-sufficient to our home consumption. In that case, one side we need to improve the productivity. On the other hand, we need to make sure the welfare of the chicken, the immunity of the chicken, because today we are suffering this corona virus, while the chicken also suffering, even though they suffer from the bird flu. So the chickens in the village, they're not protected compared to those kept in the factory. They are isolated, they are really taken care by vaccination, by veterinary. But our village chickens, they are living free range. So we have to think how we can improve the immunity of this chicken. So that's where I would, myself, I see a super chicken would be a good productivity and a strong immunity. That's really a combination of all the aspects why the commercial chicken has been selected down in the immunity, I would say. So now we can use the IAM compound, this genetic material, to revive the immunity, the the physical condition of the commercial chicken. We can make it a super chicken for depending where you want to keep your chicken. So if you want to keep backyard, you want to make sure the chicken can walk, can be strong, resistant to different type of disease. This is what we refer as super chicken. They have definitely produce good nutrition, good flavor, egg and meat. This is what we look for at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Janlin. I thought that we still have 5 to 10 minutes, so
yeah,
probably 1 or 2 questions to all speakers.
good.
And I would like to, even though that this question already answered by Professor Pauls and Dr. Asari, but I would like to bring this question to this question and answer session so that the audience from YouTube, they can understand. The first question, this is for all speakers. From Ayu Lestari, she's from Islamic State University, Alauddin Makassar. The question is how researchers see the phenomena when chicken become one of the most consumed protein source in the world. Because on the other hand, as it exploit that chicken genetic performance, also there are some evidence chicken are harmed in the process. But on the other side is it fulfill human needs of food. And second question from Muammar Gaddafi is from Sunan Ampel University. He has 2 questions. Is Indonesian chicken diversity influenced by the evolution and interbreeding between local and foreign chicken? Is it possible to create a new chicken species that can live in various weather conditions through biological engineering? And the second question of him, genetically engineered chicken produce good quality of chicken. What technologies and innovation can we use to produce chicken species that are strong in the face of disease outbreak? I think that 3 questions is to all speakers, and after that we can end of this discussion. Thank you.
Shall I start?
Prof. Pauls, you can start first, please.
No, the healthiest chicken is the champur chicken, so the interbred chicken. Why genetic diversity? It's just like with dogs, right? You have these really beautiful types, racially pure, like huskies or chihuahuas. Or these dogs always get sick, cannot handle anything. But the so-called mutt, the street dog that has elements from everything, adapts to everything, survives everything. Now, this is the ayam kampung. The ayam kampung has elements from everything, from the broiler chicken, from the red, the gray, the green jungle fowl, and therefore stays genetically diverse, remains very tough. So I guess there are some theories that say that actually the people from Indonesia are campur-campur because populations have been moving into the archipelago over centuries. And some have set up shop, have become part of the population. So I guess the chicken in Indonesia has a very similar story. There is no pure Indonesian chicken. The prime characteristic of the Indonesian chicken is its diversity. It's having incorporated genes from all kinds of chicken and jungle fowl sources, but that makes it strong and diverse. So that's the best type of chicken. I mentioned before the broiler chickens in the West are genetically rather pure, but that means look, they are bred to become very fat and heavy. They can't even walk on their own legs. They cannot handle disease very much. So this is not really a good thing for the chicken. So I think we need, as humans, to live together with our chickens in a way that's beneficial for both. Sadly, yes, we will keep eating chickens, we will keep eating their eggs, but at least let's make sure that during their lifetime, chickens have a pleasant life. And there was a question also about what is the ecological function of the chicken? Well, follow the chicken around in the garden and it goes like, it digs up the soil all the time. It makes sure that the soil is aerated, that seeds get into the soil. So that's an essential function. Even in the Australian vineyards, they put chickens there because the tash ayam, the feces of the chicken, are very good for the garden, for the vineyards. So in that part, let's make the chicken part of our ecology, keep it part of our ecology, because that's where it functions best, where it is happiest. So that way we can best live together with our chickens. Did I miss one of the questions?
No, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank
Yes.
you.
Dr. Asari, please, if you want to elaborate. Oh, okay. Professor Janlin.
I think I have no more to add. I think yes. One side I would say something a bit different. I think over time we are in the human society today. If you think about in Indonesia, the human population is really increasing. It's already very high. So therefore, we are, as a human society, we live under pressure. We want to have a cheaper source of food. So that's where, say, yes, this commercial chicken come to play an important role. They are taking over all the ayam kampung. So we cannot stop it for sure. So this is because even the government policy, I'm sure it's in favor of the commercial chicken because apparently they produce much more food in a short time. This is what the human society we need. Why we claim, say, ayam kampung is unique, important, for whatever reason, but because unless the economy of the country is improved, where you can have a portion of human society, they have extra money, they can go to appreciate something different from commercial chicken. They want to go back to the ayam kampung because the meat flavor, whatever. And so to keep the business of the ayam kampung going, we have to also to do more research for science to find a solution how we can improve ayam kampung chicken. We say, yeah, we have 30 more breed in Indonesia. They are unique, but we cannot, say to push the farmer, say no change. We have to allow the farmer to come up with something new. So why, yes, we have to have a policy for conservation of the unique chicken ayam kampung, but we have to offer solution for improvement. And we have to also to educate our human society because when more people come from village in town, they don't know what's a chicken. They go to eat the McDonald's, the KFC. That's only the time they claim they're eating chicken. But I'm sure if you give them a different piece of chicken, tell them chicken, they will take it as chicken because they don't know what chicken is about. So we need to educate our young generation from schools, to show them what is chicken in the village, what's chicken in the factory, and so that they can be aware, really say the difference, how some of them later they can become a fan of something different. Otherwise, more people in town, they don't know really what's happening in the village. On the other hand, we have to keep in mind, say, with the human society, even I would think the young generation, their teeth are not stronger anymore. If you see in the street today, many kids around 20, 30, they have the tools to fix the teeth. because the teeth are not strong, they are not glued properly, so they cannot bite, chewing this so-called ayam kampung. They have to go to the KFC, eat something soft. So that's where yes, I think this is just to say the evolution of our, say, the human society, the planet, everything moving. Just to say yes, whatever we can do in our time, we can try our best, but we cannot control in next 2 generations. We don't know. Maybe now we see this artificial chicken meat is already in the market. Maybe there will be no chicken after another 20, 30 years. We all lose our job. There will be no research on livestock, all the artificial. So what we do, this is the human society, we have to leave the mind open while we claim things are unique, important, but we have to say yes, leave the society to make that decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Janlin. Dr. Asari, it's your turn, please.
So basically already answered by both of professor. What's the best chicken nowadays? Yeah, ayam kampung is nowadays people try to come back again to the ayam kampung because of the taste, of the flavor, but the young generation even they can differentiate between ayam kampung and then the other breed. They cannot know. They didn't know. Even when I talk about pelung or cemani, they didn't know what is the pelung and cemani. So how to educate the young people, the millennial, regarding this one is more also important. So and then one of the question also about the Indonesian chicken diversity influenced by the evolution or the interbreeding. Yes, one time I have a question in my mind also regarding this one. Is it evolution interbreeding? Yes, it's play a big role in the jungle fall, in the speciation. My big question is the red jungle fall and green jungle fall is totally different species? This is still a big question for me. Is it they are two to the going to the next speciations, or even they are basically just the same species that the other one try to become a new species? But for example, for the Bankiva subspecies, Professor Janlin already mentioned it, that in our research before that it's separated with the other, so it's probably will be going up to the species level, but the number is itself, it's still big question. The population in the wild is still big question. When I'm traveling in the Central Java, I never saw this one of this Bankiva. Some of friends said they saw in East Java. They have a picture of in East Java, but how many the population? Still big question also about this Bankiva. So a new collaboration with others people from other places. It's a must to do just with this chicken, not just for the chicken meat in our table, but chicken also in the backyard and chicken also in the jungle. That's still need a lot of work. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Asari. I think that almost end.
I want to ask one more question.
Okay. Please,
Dr.
Professor Paul. Yes, please.
And Professor Janlin. It was also raised in the Q&A, the dinosaur question. The chicken is related to the dinosaurs. Is it the closest relative to the dinosaurs? Are they velociraptors we have in our backyard? Could you shed light on that? I don't think we have the DNA of dinosaurs because they've died out too long ago, but it is a really intriguing question. And maybe this answers the question, were the dinosaurs cold-blooded or hot-blooded? Well, if they related to our birds today, they must have been warm-blooded, right?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Professor Pauls, for finding the equation. I saw the equation, but I didn't find when I look at the open discussion in Zoom feature. So sorry that you raised up the equation. So I think that we still have so many questions, but of course that we cannot answer one by one. And most of the question already answered by Professor Hans Pauls. And for the audience, if you still in curiosity, you can email them. You can email Professor Pauls, Professor Hans Janlin, or of course Dr. Asari if you still have the specific question or still in curiosity. And before I close this discussion, let me summarize the important aspect of today's webinars. And from the first speaker, Professor Hans Paul, he mentioned that domestication was about 12,000 to 6,000 years ago. And chicken are charming, right, and fascinating. And chicken and human have been companions for a long time. And chicken come from Southeast Asia. Also, chicken have an important place in Indonesian society. And from Dr. Asari, I noticed that Indonesian indigenous chicken have a rich and unique genetic diversity, but with genetics mixture influenced by red jungle fowls and commercial broiler and layers. And from Professor Jian Lin, he mentioned that domestic chicken have a great potential of genetic adaptation. They underlie their unique behavioral, morphological, and reproductive abilities. I think that's all what I can summarize to all of you.
Good.
Regarding to the conclusion of our discussion today. So thank you very, very much to all speakers for your time, and your presentation are very good for us. I was thinking that ethnobiological studies should be conducted like this. So I think we end our discussion today. Stay safe and healthy. Saya kembalikan ke Bu Gi selaku host. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Mas Wawan. Please, everyone, give a big applause for our speakers and moderators today. It was great discussion, and I think we cover almost all of the questions. Yeah. Is Bu Atit still here? No, I don't think so. Yeah. The committee has provided a certificate of appreciation for all speakers and moderators. Silakan ditayangkan Pak Uus. Great discussion, and thank you very much for the speakers, Professor Han Yanlin. No, I don't think so. Yeah. The committee has provided a certificate of appreciation for all speakers and moderators. Silakan ditayangkan Pak Uus. Or
Ya, sebentar Bu.
and thank you very much for Professor Hans Janlin, Professor Hans Pauls, Dr. Hidayat Asari, and the moderator Dr. Wawan Sujarwo. Appreciation for all speakers and moderators. Silakan ditayangkan Pak Uus. Ya.
Ya, sebentar Bu.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Also, thank you very much for very important information that you all share for us. Hopefully we can meet again in the next webinar. And thank you very much for those of you who stay until the end of this session. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu. Masih lebih dari 230 orang berada di sini, sangat antusias. Kita semua bisa membuka videonya ya. Bisa dibuka, bisa saling menyapa. Kemudian berfoto bersama, silakan. Host bisa membuka video sebelum kita berpisah. Alright. More than 200 participants. Yeah. Oke, bisa dibuka semuanya. Silakan, bisa berfoto, bisa saling menyapa. Thank you very much.
Good.
I am
Thank
Sugiarti,
you.
Public Relation from LIPI. Would like to thank all of you and see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Good.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Profesor.
Yes, thank you.
Mas Wawan, terima
Thank
kasih.
you.
Bye.
Buat
Thank
komite
you.
semua, Kang Uus, Kang Doni,
Good. Yeah.
kemudian
Ya.
Kang
Tadi udah
Marwan, Mas
join.
Pati.
Good.
Oke, ada yang screenshot itu fotonya.
Iya, oke, saya screenshot.
Okay.
Mangga, siapa yang mau ambil gambar? Kang Uus?
Sebentar.
Look good.
Bye-bye. Oke, finish, Kang Uus.
Belum. Masih banyak yang belum masuk.
Oh, right.
Biar kita tambahin.
200.
Oke, bisa dimulai ambil
Attendance.
gambarnya.
Kita foto ya.
Ya,
Silakan dimasukkan satu-satu, Kang Diki.
Siap.
Kita mulai ya. Satu, bisa tangannya, dada. Silakan. 1,
and then
2, 3. Ya, silakan dibuka videonya Bapak Ibu.
Bok.
masih banyak lagi?
Masih banyak ini.
Oke.
Ketok.
Alright. Sudah? I think it's the end of our session today. See you next. Sampai ketemu lagi. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu. Sertifikat dan material presentasi nanti akan dikirim ke email Bapak Ibu semua dari kami. Mohon maaf jika ada hal yang kurang berkenan. Thank you very much. See you next. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye all.
Bye all.
Ini live semuanya.
Mas Fatih di mana fotonya?
Hah?
Videonya nggak ada.
Video mana sih? Nggak tahu saya ya gitu.
Pati belum bangun itu, Bu.
Mas Fatih, tolong sampaikan ke Bu Atit udah selesai ya.
Oh, udah selesai.
Tolong
Tadi
dilaporkan.
apa sih? Tadi beliau itu apa nanya kenapa nggak bisa masuk lagi gitu. Kayak panelis, kita nggak masukin email beliau ke ini ya, ke kirim di Fatoni ya. Harusnya Fatoni juga cerdas juga gitu.
Terima kasih Bapak Ibu semua. Sampai ketemu lagi.
Temu kapan, Bu? Ngelewat bareng gitu.
Dari LIPI banyak nih yang hadir nih.
Iya. Ada berapa totalnya, Bu?
Tadi hampir 400 ya kalau yang di Zoom meeting ini. Sekarang udah berkurang, udah tinggal 120.
Udah pada live ya. Thank you banget Bu Gi, faktor host.
Tinggal ditindaklanjuti yang tadi
Prof. Endang Tri itu. Baru.
Iya. Yang belum berhasil isi link tadi tolong di rekamannya dicatat ya.
Kang Us mohon bantu untuk daftar hadir di YouTube mohon di-share yang baru ya.
Kita nggak masukin email beliau ke ini ya,
Mohon dibantu yang untuk daftar hadir terbaru di YouTube mohon di-share ulang.
Terima kasih Bapak Ibu semua.
Yang belum berhasil.
Terima kasih.
Kapan, Bu?
Semoga bermanfaat.
Lewat bareng gitu.
Dari LIPI banyak nih yang hadir nih.
Iya. Ada berapa totalnya, Bu?
Saya izin live ya, teman-teman.